When you study animals, you never quite know what oddball behaviors you might see. In this video, we will go through how bizarre animals can be sometimes. Capybaras. The capybara is basically a giant guinea pig that can grow to up to 140 pounds on a diet of grass and its poop. Like other rodents, capybaras' teeth grow continuously, and they wear them down by grazing on aquatic plants, grasses, and other plentiful plants. They also eat their feces in the morning. That's when their poo is protein-rich from a high number of microbes digesting the previous day's meals. Because the grasses they eat are so hard to digest, eating their waste essentially allows them to digest it twice. Do you think they're still adorable now? Gassy manatees. Manatees are incredibly intelligent marine mammals who show long-term memory and associative learning skills on par with dolphins. They are thought to have inspired the myth of the mermaid. There is scientific evidence to suggest that they regulate their underwater buoyancy, their ability to rise and fall in the water column, by farting. Unlike fish, manatees lack a specially designed organ known as a swim bladder that uses gas to regulate their buoyancy. To save energy while moving through the water column, manatees fart just like humans do. As the only completely herbivorous aquatic mammal, the average adult manatee can measure just under 10 feet long and weigh between 800 and 1,200 pounds, and such size requires hefty portions. Manatees can consume up to 15% of their body weight in algae and seagrass every day. When this plant matter is broken down in the digestive tract, the production of methane occurs. Manatees can hold in their manitutes to get lighter and float near the surface. Letting one rip, on the other hand, allows the animal to sink lower in the water. And this stinky little trick comes in handy. Manatees will surface every few minutes to breathe, though they can hold their breath for up to 20 minutes, replacing 90% of the air in their lungs. By comparison, humans replace just about 10%. In addition to their flatulent talents, manatees hold a couple of specialized evolutionary tools up their flippers. With heavy skeletons and mostly solid bones, the added weight helps manatees to stay below water more easily. Additionally, the lungs and diaphragm of a manatee extend along almost the entire length of the animal's back, essentially in the same plane as the manatee in water. Lastly, each lung is contained within a separate cavity, which also helps the manatee to both breathe and control its buoyancy. Manatees appear to harness the energy-saving power of their manitutes. See crocodilians. Alligators fill their bellies with small rocks as a way to stay underwater for longer periods. Ingesting stones equal to just 2.5% of the alligator's body weight increased the animal's dive time by an average of 88%, extending it up to 35 minutes. Scientists have long known that alligators, crocodiles, and other crocodilians frequently consume rocks on accident while attacking live prey or on purpose as a source of minerals, to get rid of parasites, or to help digest difficult meals, a behavior also practiced by some birds. But the new study is the first time the conduct has been shown in lab experiments to affect the animals swimming. The additional weight allows them to take more air into their lungs and still sink. Crafty crows. We humans seem to have a penchant for studying wildlife. We tag them with satellite transmitters, outfit them with radio collars, spy on them with trail cameras, and use other observation techniques, all to learn more about their lives and secrets. So I find it fascinating when the tables get turned, and we find out that wildlife is watching us. That couldn't be truer than in the case of crows. Research into the intelligence of corvids, a family of stout-billed birds that includes crows, jays, magpies, and ravens, has exploded in the last few decades. We now know that crows use traffic to open hard-to-crack nuts and that they can figure out how to complete a complicated series of events to solve a puzzle. And, just recently, we've learned that they are as smart, in some aspects, as a 7-year-old child, and that they are watching us learn more about humans. Until the 21st century, birds were largely dismissed as simpletons. After all, how smart can you be with a brain the size of a nut, the theory went, and taunts such as calling someone a bird brain were common. Research has since shown, however, that birds make good use of the allotted space for their tiny brains by packing in lots of neurons, more so than mammals. And crows are one of the smartest of birds. For example, crows understand analogies, can exercise self-control, can fashion tools, and like to play, all signs of what we call intelligence. The crafty corvids have learned how to fashion and use certain tools to help them get out of reach food. They also understand how water displacement works, which scientists observed as they dropped rocks into a water-filled tube to raise a floating snack. In addition, crows have an uncanny memory for human faces. They can hold grudges against some of us, and tell other crows about it, too. They seem to have a good sense that every person is unique and that they need to approach each of us differently. So it would seem that not all bird brains are bird brains after all. Zany zebra finch. Female birds usually breed several times throughout their lives. At each breeding attempt, they face the question as to what level of resources they should invest in the process. The genetic quality of their breeding partners plays an important role here, as attractiveness is associated with the promise of healthy offspring. If the male bird is particularly attractive, the females summon up a particularly high level of energy for their breeding attempts. As a result, the eggs are relatively large or contain a particularly high level of nutrients like carotenoids, for example. However, as the scientists at the Max Planck Institute for Ornithology in Seewiesen have discovered, in the case of zebra finches, the opposite approach can also be advantageous. The explanation for this lies in the way in which zebra finches live together. The couples usually remain together for their entire lifespan and are, therefore, monogamous. Thus, it does not pay for the females to economize with their resources, as there is little likelihood that they will team up with a real Superman for their next breeding attempt. When a female was placed in a cage with an unattractive male, she laid particularly large eggs with more contents than the eggs she laid when paired with a highly attractive male. Thus, in the experiment, the female zebra finches pulled out all the stops for the unattractive males. The offspring require more seed capital as the partner does not provide as much quality. This means that the low genetic quality of the male is compensated for by good egg quality. Pistol shrimp snap. Netflix's action movie Project Power has given the world a new superhero, the pistol shrimp. In a story about pill-activated superpowers inspired by myriad animal DNA, it's the pistol shrimp-like power within Jamie Foxx's character that allows him to vaporize bullets and obliterate his enemies with one powerful pulse in the scene. The scene is, in part, based on the incredibly real abilities of the 1 to 2 inch long organisms, who can generate a high-speed water jet to stun and annihilate any threats. Is the movie's portrayal of underwater snapping accurate? Kind of. Should you be impressed by the minuscule crustaceans? Definitely. The power for which they are named involves their claws. One claw is modified with a plunger that fits into a socket. Out front of the socket, there is a groove for a jet of water to escape when the claw is suddenly closed. The jet is extremely powerful and causes the formation of a cavitation ring. When the mechanism is activated, there is a very loud popping and crackling sound. And they can even snap multiple times in succession. Imagine how loud the sound would be if the shrimp were much larger. Cow compasses. A new study suggests that cows sense the Earth's magnetic field and use it to line up their bodies so they face either north or south when grazing or resting. The discovery was made by a team led by Heinrich Borda of the University of Duisburg-Essen in Germany. His team used Google Earth to look at more than 8,500 cows, over 300 pastures all around the world. By analyzing the images, the team found that cows tend to face either magnetic north or south when grazing or resting. To see if another large mammal might behave similarly, the researchers also looked at deer. They watched deer grazing and also looked at oval hollows in the snow that deer make when they're sleeping. Again, they found a north-south orientation. Borda, for his part, says that magnetic compass orientation has been relatively understudied in mammals. Why cows use this is the biggest question, he says. Maybe they just feel better in this position. Massive murmurations. Murmurations are huge groups of starlings that twist, turn, swoop and swirl across the sky in beautiful shape-shifting clouds. Just before dusk, small groups of starlings from the same area come together above a communal roosting site. The group grows ever larger, moving in unison in an aerial dance that casts gorgeous shapes against the waning daylight. Starlings are known as partial migrants, birds that migrate in some places but not in others. Our starlings tend to stay put while those from colder countries in Eastern Europe head to our shores, swelling our numbers during autumn and winter to form seriously impressive flocks. Murmurations always form over the bird's communal roosting site. As the number of starlings reaches its peak and the last of the daylight begins to fade, an unspoken signal seems to tell the group to funnel towards the ground with one last sweeping motion and calming whoosh of wings. These starling spectaculars form during autumn and winter. Most migrant starlings have usually arrived here by late November/early December, making this the prime time to watch a murmuration at its peak. Wrap up warm and make sure you arrive before dusk to watch the big event from start to finish. Which one do you think is the wackiest animal behavior? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching.